Hi friends, this is Caitlin. I'm so excited to be here with you sharing a hop card for Pink and Main's August release. And as you can see, we're finally dipping into the Halloween goodness on Pink and Main. So I'm going to be using the Little Monster stamp set as well as the Spooky Time pattern papers. I'm bringing in an old favorite, which is the Loopy Frames dies. So stinking cute. And we're just going to be having so much fun making this little monster Halloween card. So this card is part of an Instagram hop. There isn't a YouTube hop. I just love sharing my hop cards here with you guys. So this is just a process video. If you want to hop along on Instagram for a chance to win a Pink and Main store gift card, website gift card, I'll leave the link to my actual hop post down in the description below for you, and you can find all the details over on Instagram. So I stamped out my image here of my little dragon and his teeny tiny buddy and their jack-o'-lantern. I stamped it with Honeybee Stamps Intense Black ink, but I stamped it on Pink and Main Ice Rink cardstock, which is a heavyweight white cardstock, because we are using Olos today. I don't usually even use my Olos, but I have been trying to get more practice with them, and this one felt like there was more than enough space for me to get the blends that I was looking for. I do personally have some problems when I'm trying to color teeny tiny little details with my Olos, that sometimes I go outside of the lines easier, and that's not usually a problem for me. So, but I am trying to practice with them more, because maybe it's also a practice thing. But I went in with some of these Olo markers. I have the caps on the screen because I'm still learning my Olo colors too. And I always use my Sandy Allnock hex chart for my Copics and my Olos, but especially for my Olos while I'm still learning which colors work together. Cannot recommend that enough. The Sandy Allnock hex chart is a lifesaver for any alcohol marker collection. I really wanted to play up the Halloween color scheme within my coloring. So my pumpkin takes care of the orange. I wanted that little, to me, he almost looks like a little alien. The teeny tiny monster, I did him green, and I used those same YG markers for the spots and the spikes on our other monster, but his main color is going to be purple, because we've talked about this before. Anytime where you can do orange, green, and purple, you're automatically going to get a boost of Halloween feeling in whatever you're creating. Now, it looks like the tiniest monster is painting the face onto our jack-o'-lantern, right? He's got a paintbrush, not a knife. So I wanted to make sure that I pulled in purple somewhere else, since green was in at least 2 spots. So the little paint cup is purple, but the paint itself we're going to be adding is black, since the tiny monster is painting black onto our pumpkin. And with my purples, I did have to go back in and give like one more layer of my lightest shade just to get a nice smooth blend. I think purples are tough in Olos and Copics, and I do think that you can use them together to kind of fill in some gaps. But I wanted to just stick with Olos for this one. I did go in and add some highlights here and there to the paint and the paintbrush and the like eyes of the pumpkin, because I figured they were wet paint, they'd be a little shiny, and my monster needed some highlights, and I love adding the eye highlights to pretty much all of my characters. I didn't go too crazy, but I just wanted it to feel extra cutesy, so I did also add some highlights to the pumpkin. To bring in that pop of purple in one more spot, we're going to be using this embossing powder from Pink and Main. I can't even see the title, the name of it, the color here, but I'll put it down in the description for you. It's newer, and it is the most beautiful, like fuchsia kind of purple. I started by stamping out my sentiment here with some black ink, the Pink and Main Asphalt ink. Then I'm going to clean off my stamp and I'm going to go in with my embossing ink just in case I missed any spots with the embossing ink, or the embossing powder wasn't completely smooth. The black will help to make everything look nice and complete. It doesn't change the color, it just fills in any gaps so you don't see any white spots. Look at that beautiful glitter. This is so pretty. And I'm so sorry, I love a good like melting transition, but I just wasn't in focus. But I wanted you to see that I did melt this down. And the sentiment says, sending monster hugs. The sentiments in this set do have coordinating dies, so I used that to cut out my sentiment there. And then I'm taking this candy corn pattern paper from the new Spooky Time pattern paper pack. Say that 3 times fast. And I'm trimming it out with the solid loopy frame layer. We're going to run that through the die cutting machine. It's going to give us this scalloped edge and this really fun stitched detail that I wanted to show you how beautiful that looks. We're also going to bring in some construction cardstock, also from Pink and Main. And that's with the loops. I cut that out with just the loops. And I'm going to go in with a pokey tool to poke out all of the loopy centers that didn't want to come out on their own. And then we're going to attach this to that candy corn layer just with some liquid glue. Now, the one thing I do want to say while I'm assembling this over here is that I ended up, my finished card is going to be a little bit bigger than an A2 because this frame is basically A2 sized. If you go from the biggest scallop edge to like the biggest scallop edge, it's pretty much an A2 sized card front just with those loops. But I wanted to put it on a backer panel because I still wanted that extra pop of orange to tie in our loops. But when I put this directly on the orange, I wasn't loving how it looked. So I'm going to trim down the orange as much as possible and not cut off a scallop. And then we're going to pop this whole thing onto a piece of black cardstock that's just like a 1/4 inch bigger in both directions than a normal A2. So when you see this finished product, if you were going to recreate this versus just, using it as inspiration, I just wanted to be transparent with you guys that it is not technically an A2 size card, since that's what I usually make. And so if I didn't say that and you tried to make it, you'd be like, why doesn't mine doesn't look like that? So here's where I'm going in with liquid glue on the back. And I think this tiny little thin black frame helps to balance out everything. And it took me from liking it to loving it. I love this card. It's so stinking cute. So I'm going to pop up my little pumpkin and monsters here with some foam tape. And I'm going to add that to the upper half of my card. Then I'm going to take teeny tiny little pieces of these small black foam squares from Simon Says Stamp that I've cut in half. And we're going to pop up the sentiment as well. And then I tried adding sequins to this and I was not feeling it. So we're going to pull out the enamel dots. I don't use these very often, but I do like them. They're very convenient. And I pulled out a few different sets because I wanted to do 2 purple, 2 orange, and 2 green and kind of split them up into clusters of 3 on this kind of diagonal shape that we already had going with our stamped image. So everything's kind of pulling from bottom left to upper right. And I switched out the sizes. So it's like the smallest green and then the biggest green. And this card makes me so happy. And I love that the other sentiments and images in this stamp set don't even have to be for Halloween. They can just be like birthday cards. So I hope that you enjoyed this one. Please go hop along and support Pink and Main. Check out the whole release and come back and let me know in the comments what your favorite new product is. I will see you guys back here very, very soon. And until next time, happy crafting.